Hello everyone, this is Follow Me by Vanishing Arts, and in today's episode we're going to talk about shadows. But before we start, I'd like to invite you to our Architecture Drawing Discord server, the place where you can share, discuss and learn how to draw architecture. I will do my best for it to become an amazing drawing community. Link in the video description. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So today's episode I'm going to start a bit unusual because I'm going to present to you my pen and show you the shadow itself. You may say, yeah, it's really simple, we know how it works, all we've got eyes, we can observe it in our life, we can observe it from nature, and I bet you would like to know how to properly and consciously draw the shadows in your drawings, and the most importantly, you would like to know how to consciously decide upon your light source. We're gonna go ahead and cast a simple shadow. First of all, let's talk about the principles of casting shadows. You need an object, then you need the direction and the angle of the light rays, and then you need the surface. Let's say, simple example to start with. That's the subject. And I'm gonna ask you a question and think for a while. Is this a shadow? Can this be a shadow? Of course, the answer is it can. So what do we need to make sure that this is a shadow? We have a surface. We have a light ray, and we have the angle of this light ray. These three informations will always give us the shadow. So direction, angle, surface, plus of course the subject or anything that's really close. And you've got that cone that produces the light rays, and shadow is going to cast. It's going to be distorted. This example is really complicated and it's really hard to get it right in the perspective, but for the most part, we're gonna deal with this kind of a shadow because it's produced by the sun. And while drawing architecture or other things, you'll most likely have shadows cast by sun. So how do we cast a shadow on a 3D box? It's not that complicated, we've already done that before. All we need to do is to multiply these edges and follow the same rule. Let's say, to make it easier, that's a good decision to make up first, is to draw this box like so. This way, we can see more of the shadow than we would see in a different perspective. Okay, so to start with, we need to decide upon all of these three factors: the direction, angle, and the surface. Surface is quite easy. Let's say the surface is just a plane underneath this box. Okay? It's not complicated at all. It's just a plane. Let's say it's infinite. It goes up to the horizon line. It never ends. Then we decide upon the direction of the ray. So we kinda make a decision where would we like the shadows to be cast. We can make the shadow appear over here, we can make it appear over here. We just, most of the time when you decide upon the shadows and decide upon the light direction, you kind of decide upon the effect of your drawing, because you can have all of these faces dark, or you can have one really dark and one really bright, and you can have a really interesting shadow cast somewhere there. And what I like to do is to have a really strong point in my composition to be on the edge between dark and bright. So let's say I would like to have this wall really dark and the shadow is going to be cast somewhere behind it. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to decide upon the angle of a shadow and the direction. Let's say that's my direction and this is going to be my angle. Cool. And for as long as this is the direct light, parallel light, it will not angle these rays in perspective. All of the rays are parallel to each other. They just change in perspective accordingly to these guidelines, that converge into the vanishing points. So this direction and this angle will always be the same for this surface. That's another one, and that's the extension. So we kind of drew a plane, we actually drew a shadow There's the ray and there's the ray. They are parallel to each other. They meet where this edge is casting a shadow over here, and these lines are parallel to each other as well. However, they meet on the guideline that goes into the vanishing point. That would mean that once we'd like to extend these lines over here, this shadow would slightly grow and slightly shrink in perspective. To cast this shadow properly behind this box, we need to draw the back face and know where does this back face end, and for this corner make a line, make a ray, and from this back wall we have to make the direction, transfer the direction, and where the ray is going to meet the direction is our point where the shadow is going to be cast. So that way we've got a properly drawn shadow. Now keep in mind that always, and it's true for all the situations, the cast shadow is going to be slightly darker than the shadow that is not cast, that is shadow of a surface that is in shadow. So there's my strong edge in my composition when the bright meets dark, and this shadow is always going to be slightly darker. I hope that thanks to this episode, you've learned how to properly draw the shadows and how to make the right decisions upon casting the shadows in your drawing. This was Follow Me by Vanishing Arts. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like this video, post a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Make sure to subscribe publicly so you can be eligible for winning one of my drawing in the next giveaway that's going to happen on 2,000 subscribers goal. As always, remember that you can put your video requests in the comments below. Maybe there's something that would you like me to cover, maybe there's some question you would like to ask me, just let me know in the comments. Stay tuned for the future videos, and as always, happy drawing!